So let's take a look at another question over here. Ahmad set up an experiment to find out the preferred living conditions of 3 types of organisms, P, Q, and R. First, he filled parts of soil A, Okay, so most important thing you need to know is bright and wet, dark and wet, dark and dry, and bright and dry. So basically these 4 parts of the dish has different kind of conditions, and he put some of the organisms in the middle. So he wants to know where the organisms go. So if they like bright and wet, then they will go towards B. If they like dark and wet, then they'll go towards A, and so on and so forth. So then now let's take a look at the number of organisms in each part of the tray. So organism P, tray A has 1, tray B has 0, tray C has 10, tray D has 9. So we have to write down what kind of environment does organism P likes. So let's do it now. Okay, so if you notice, C is actually bright and dry, and D is dark and dry. So write this down first, and then after that find out what is it that organism P really likes. So you realize that bright and dark is not really a big factor, but it prefers dry. So dry is a very big factor for organism P. If you look at organism Q, then it's looking at A as well as D. So let's write down what is A and D. So A is dark and wet. D is dark and dry. So you need to realize that for organism Q, it's more important that the environment is dark, because wet and dry is both fine with the organism. So finally, let's look at organism R, and you realize that most of it is actually at A, which is dark and wet. And there is almost nothing at the other parts of the dish. So it really likes dark and wet places. So let's look at the first question. Why did Ahmad put the organisms in the center of the tray at the start of the experiment? Okay, so why did he put the thing at the center of the tray? So the answer is the organism will have to move an equal distance to all parts of the tray. Now, if you think about it, right, if Ahmad puts the organism, so this is the center, at the corner of the tray here, then it wouldn't be a fair experiment because it would be near this part, all right? And it will have to travel a long distance to come to this part of the tray. So the key word is equal distance to all parts of the tray. Now let's take a look at the second part. The organisms will then return to their natural environment. Ahmad continued to study their number and monitored the amount of rainfall in their natural environment over a period of time. He drew a graph to show his findings. Okay, let's look at this graph carefully. So this is amount of rainfall, and this is number of organisms. So this graph means as the rainfall increases, what happens to the number of organisms? So if you look at this organism, as the rainfall increases, the number also increases. And if you look at this organism, as the rainfall increases, the number remains the same. And for this organism, as the rainfall increases, the number decreases. So what we are looking for is that for this organism, we need to find an organism that likes the rain or likes damp places, so that it thrives in damp places. So if you look at this, dark, it likes dry. This one really likes dark places, so I know that this is actually organism R, and I'll put R over here. And this one has got no preference for damp or dry because it doesn't really affect the numbers when the amount of rainfall increases. So we need to look for an organism that has no preference for damp or dry, which is this one, because its preference is for dark. So this is organism Q, so we write here Q. And the last one is it has a negative preference for rainfall, which means it does not like rainfall, because the more rainfall, the lower the number goes. And therefore, we are looking for this organism because it prefers dry places. So it is organism P. All right. So that's the answer. But before we end, I want to share with you that it's important for you to write out this table. When you do the question yourself, I want you to write out this table. Because without this table, it's actually really confusing to pick out which organism it is and write down the letter over here. And it's also very easy for you to make careless mistakes. So I want you to draw the table when you are doing this question. Okay, I want to see these three things. And then after that, from there, you know how to write the answer easily.